LARP can be an absolutely amazing hobby, making you experience epic fights and great emotional drama. But it can also be quite overwhelming when you're first getting started. So, to help you a bit with that, here are 8 tips I wish I knew before I started LARP. Live action roleplay. The name sounds quite broad, and well, it is. Most people have the association of fantasy and fights when they hear about LARP, but there is so much more than that. In a way, the description, play pretend for adults, is a pretty good one, which immediately shows how much variety LARP can have. If you can think of it, it is LARPable. We often get the question, LARP seems interesting, but I don't want or I cannot fight. Is it even possible for me to LARP? And the answer to that is yes. One of my favorite LARPs at this moment is a Regency LARP. There is no combat involved, it is all about family dynamics and politics, while attending fancy events and sipping tea while gossiping. So look around and see if you can find LARPs that match the things that interested you in wanting to try LARP in the first place. Try to find a few events so you can compare possibilities. Maybe you can't find events near you that mention the things that you'd like to play, but in that case, ask around. Maybe there are events, they just have little social media presence. Or the event includes the things that you'd like, but it doesn't mention it on the site. This also means that while people are always happy to suggest the events that they are playing at as nice events, they might not be a good fit for you. So do check the event info and look around to see if there are things that might be an even better fit. Because LARP is such a variable hobby, it might end up working a bit different than you expect. So my advice when starting out in a LARP where you can write your own characters would be to keep it simple. Playing a relatively nobody who wants to find a place in the world, or someone with a simple goal like finding their lost family, generally makes it easier to play along with the group. Instead of starting with a complex 200-page background explaining why you are a mute person who is afraid of people. I would also advise you to do this with your costume. A plain tunic, pair of pants, a belt and some accessories can go a lot further than a very detailed and complex set of armor. It can definitely be very cool, and I'm not saying you cannot show up with a grand background and grand costume. However, more often than not, it turns out that the concept doesn't entirely fit the event, and simpler concepts can generally adapt better. Plus, it would be a waste of your armor investment if it turns out you end up not wanting to play a fighter character at this event at all. If this isn't the first of my videos you have watched, odds are, you know, I love crafting. And I really try to make as much as possible, but I am crazy and you absolutely don't have to. You don't have to be intimidated by settings with specific costume guidelines if you cannot sew. By now, there are quite a few LARP stores around where you can buy off-the-shelf clothing, from pants to hats. This is especially true for fantasy or more historical LARPs. However, with modern LARPs, you are even more in luck, and you can just buy regular clothes from regular stores. Or you can see what you can find at secondhand stores. Just by combining various pieces of clothing in unusual ways, you can already make outfits that can fit many different settings. And if you don't mind a bit of crafting, you can add little details to this to truly make it unique. If you have slightly more money to spend, you can also consider commissioning costumes or parts of your costumes. There are many small businesses and people who love to make costumes for others. And the benefit of this is that it can be completely customized to your sizes and wishes. If you do go this route, I do suggest contacting people as early as possible. This process can take longer than you think, and not stressing out the person on the other side is a nice bonus as well. Ready for battle? Yep. Did you hear that? It's a giant angry snake. Awesome. I have the perfect item for this too, it's just I don't have it on me. Really? I didn't have enough room for it in my costume. No pockets or bags that were big enough, you know? You know what? I'm gonna get it right now. Well, guess I'm on my own then. I got it! Oh. To come back to the LARP is play pretend for adults. This is a hobby and we all do it for fun. If you have found a good event, it shouldn't matter if you make mistakes. And considering we play characters and not ourselves, why not make your character do things that might be a bit out of your comfort zone, but that you still wanted to try? LARP is a playground. Go and do the scary things. Ever wanted to see if you can get away with lying? Want to know what it's like to play a leader, speak in front of an audience? Go and see how it turns out. Even if you think you messed up or you suddenly throw a giant blank, there will be other people to help you and take over in the moment if it's needed. In case it is something that you really struggle with but you do want to try, you could even tell someone in advance. Hey, I have never really given a speech before and I find it really scary. I'm afraid I might black out. Can you maybe help and back me up if needed? I have seen people grow through LARP, and honestly, I've noticed some of that myself as well. You can learn that messing up is okay, and often people don't think about it as much as you do. These are things that you can take with you outside of the LARP as well, back to daily life. And maybe weirdly enough, this one will be more applicable to off-game things than in-game things. Those of you who like camping will probably already be familiar with this, but staying comfortable and warm can make the difference between a great and an absolutely horrible trip. The same goes for LARP, even if you're attending an indoor sleeping LARP. If you aren't entirely sure about the boots you're going to wear, bring a spare pair. They might not fit as perfectly in-game than your other pair, but if they end up being uncomfortable, cause blisters, or you just simply step into a big puddle, it can make a big difference to switch to a more comfortable and dry pair. Usually what I do is I pack the pair that I want to wear during the event into my luggage, and I wear a different pair to go to and back from the event. This is also very relevant when it's warm out. Being able to switch from a sweaty warm pair of boots to airy sandals can be very refreshing. And if it happens to be a cold event, bring a spare blanket, and if you want to sleep with socks on, bring spares to switch to clean ones at night, and just bring spare socks in general. Same as with the boots, a puddle can happen everywhere, and in some LARPs, that might even be something else than water. I sometimes come across questions from people where they assume that getting LARP clothing is difficult because of historical accuracy. In pretty much every LARP, clothing does not need to be historically accurate, and I can say in 99% of the time, it will definitely not be the case for your first LARP. Where reenactment, and to some extent the SCA, is all about accurately portraying history, LARP is more about the experience than the accuracy. We use the costumes and the props to portray a specific setting, to make it more immersive, but for that we don't need the exact fiber content. Aside from that, LARPs often take place in an invented or alternative world, and in fantasy LARPs, if we can pretend that someone is throwing around actual fireballs, we can pretend that whatever you are wearing is accurate for that world, or your group of people. A term that I just love that LARP goes by is the rules of authenticool. As long as it's believable, it's fine. Nonetheless, for the people who like these kinds of things and want to go all out, you can go all out. You might have noticed I didn't make any conclusive statements. That is because every LARP is unique, and because LARP can be so many different things, it is impossible to say something that will be true for every LARP. Some LARPs allow stabbing weapons or shield bashing, others don't allow either. In some LARPs, everyone wearing pants portrays a man and everyone wearing a dress plays a female. But in other LARPs, every character can wear what they like regardless of gender. What I would like to give as a tip is that asking around on the worldwide internet to find what would or would not be allowed in your LARP might not give the right answers. Once you have found an event that you like, find their Facebook, Discord or email and ask your questions there. That way you can be sure the answers you get are applicable in your LARP. And no worries, if there is one thing that LARPers like more than LARPing, it is getting new people into LARP. So don't hesitate to ask those questions. We have all started somewhere. I hope these tips were useful and help you get started in LARP, and if you'd like to listen to even more LARP tips, good news, there is more. And with that, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.